Hello everyone at ANDE's conference. I'm Marcellus Werner. I'm a portfolio manager at Nest Amazonia. I speak to you from Alter do Chão in the Amazon in the state of Pará. This is where I live for the last 6 years. I've been entrepreneuring in the region in tourism, and for a year I've been with Nest conducting a work of incubation for traditional people's enterprises. So the title of this expo is How Have We Managed to Invest in Traditional People Enterprises over the last 12 months during the pandemic. And I hope you guys join us to hear a little about how we managed to build trust at first place and show the importance of our work to these people, creating interests on them, on the capacity buildings that we envision to provide, as well as the financial investment that we offer to them. We will also tell you how we are developing our work with indigenous economy. We have a program in which we will support indigenous business to gain access to markets and to improve their managerial capacities. In addition to that, we will discuss how we had to adapt ourselves and adapt Nest methodology to encompass all the idiosyncrasies of the Amazon and how to operate in working with these communities and all the aspects of being afar, but having to begin a relationship with people that more than anywhere else are accustomed to eye-to-eye connection and accustomed to spend time outside of the business conversations to really know each other before entering any deals or any agreements, and how we managed to have this work done on an online basis thus far. So we hope to see a lot of faces and a lot of interest in our work in the Amazon, and I see you in a couple of minutes in the expo time. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tim Ogden, Managing Director of the Financial Access Initiative, a research center housed at NYU Wagner, and the leader of the Small Firm Diaries, a major new research initiative to better understand small firms in developing countries. The Small Firm Diaries project will follow more than 100 small firms, which we define as firms with 1 to 20 employees, I'll return to that definition a bit later, in 7 countries: Colombia, Nigeria, Kenya, Ethiopia, Uganda, Indonesia, and Fiji. The MasterCard Center for Inclusive Growth provided early catalytic funding for the project, followed by investments from ANDE, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Orchides Foundation, and others. In this study, we'll be using a financial diaries methodology, similar to what we've done in well-known studies of households like Portfolios of the Poor and the US Financial Diaries. That involves visiting firms every week for a full year to gather data on all their financial flows and decisions, along with what we call modules, deeper dives into specific focus areas that combine quantitative and qualitative questions. The data we gather will provide insight into key questions about small firms that are very hard to answer reliably otherwise. The goal is to create actionable insights for practitioners who are trying to support small firms. As I mentioned earlier, we're following firms with 1 to 20 employees, which we call small firms, since there's so many different definitions of SME or MSME. We're following the size of firms because they're such an important part of the economies of developing countries, especially in terms of employment for low-income families. But more importantly, because as best we can tell from existing data, these firms rarely grow. First and foremost, we want to understand why. We're about 20 weeks into data collection in Ethiopia, about 12 weeks in Colombia, and a few weeks in Nigeria. We're currently recruiting firms in Kenya, with Uganda, Indonesia, and Fiji still to come. Today, I want to share with you a bit more about the firms that we're following and what we're going to be able to see in the data, starting with Colombia and Ethiopia. Hopefully that'll whet your appetite for what's to come. And of course, we'd love to hear from ANDE members about what questions you have about small firms and the challenges they face. In each country, our research team is interviewing firm owners in 3 to 4 sites. We're very interested in the specific challenges faced by women-owned firms, so we've made sure that they make up about 1/3 of the firms we're following. We've also focused on a few industries, light manufacturing, agro-processing, and services, where we think growth is more likely possible than in sectors like retail. To give you a better sense of the kinds of firms we're following, here's a look at their size in terms of revenue, value of assets, and number of employees. Now, these firms are in low-income neighborhoods, so unsurprisingly, they're clustered around the lower end of distributions, though the firms are a bit larger in terms of revenue in Colombia than Ethiopia. I do think it's worth noting that in our sample, the proportion of women-led firms at around 1/3 is fairly consistent across size, whether that's by revenue or number of employees. You can also see where the firms fall in terms of their depth of use of formal financial services. A much larger percentage of firms are unbanked in Colombia than in Ethiopia. We've also taken a look at the wages the firms pay their employees, with some context on income in those countries. Interestingly, we don't see that wage rates differ much by the number of employees a firm has. Now, during the course of the study, we're going to be able to track how these parameters change, how stable or volatile revenue is, employment, asset value. When those things change, what else is happening in the firm? What decisions are the owners making? Does growth in revenue come from increased productivity? And when it does, are gains passed on to employees, reinvested in the firm, or in the owner's household? As I mentioned, we're also going to be able to look at some key areas with quantitative and qualitative data. The first of our modules has just been completed in Ethiopia. It includes questions about financial management and record keeping. Here you can see some of the early analysis of that data on how firms track their finances. Specifically, one thing of note is how the firms perceive their own profitability. Of course, there's much, much more to come. Please do come to our expo session with any questions you have about the study. You can also follow the project at smallfirmdiaries.org and on Twitter and other social media. We really look forward to sharing this data that we gather from these firms and working with members of the ANDE community to better understand the barriers that small firms face and how we can design programs and policies to support those firms and help them grow. Thanks for your time and attention.
Good morning. My name is John Chopdiani, and I'm the Senior Director of Climate Resilience and Agriculture at IDE. And I'm really excited to share some thoughts about our Market Systems Resilience Index, or MSRI, that IDE has been developing over the past 3 years, related to unlocking the market ecosystem of adaptation strategies through system-level resilience assessment. IDE is an international NGO that's been working for almost 40 years to power entrepreneurs to end poverty across 10 country offices in Latin America, Africa, and Asia. We use market-based approaches focusing on 5 main sectors, including agriculture, climate and resilience, ecosystem creation, nutrition, and water sanitation and hygiene. We use an approach called IDE Infinite, which works on addressing the challenges and missing middle between remote farmers and communities and private sector actors. So this last mile is usually missing out, and we address this through a number of different areas through this infinite loop, assessing availability, access, acceptance, ability, advocacy, and adapting. And we use this as a progressive program that continually improves. So specifically, we've been working on a whole lot of projects adapted to the context. And we are looking to become much more evidence-based, as with the wider industry. So we've been looking at assessing resilience over the past number of years. To date, there are a number of resilience measurement tools at the household level, including ones I've been involved in at the UN. And there are some market resilience tools out there, but there aren't really very many market systems resilience measurement tools. So we set out to look at what was there, build on what was done previously, and try to develop a system that works for us. On the right, you can see a slide showing the 11 determinants of resilience that we've developed. This helps us really break down the different elements that contribute to the resilience of a market ecosystem. So what did we do? We looked at what was existing. We looked at our experience across our 10 country offices, and we used design principles to make sure that MSRI is practical, addresses all the different major market actors, and is able to provide actionable insights to our work. We piloted MSRI in Nepal, Bangladesh, and Mozambique. And essentially what MSRI is it's a survey tool that we ask different market actors from households, farming communities, input suppliers, retailers, extension agents. And we do a quantitative and qualitative survey. Each of these questions are mapped across the 11 determinants and into the different categories, including support, environment, create, connectivity, financial, and structure of the market. So following this, we've found some really interesting insights, and we're refining the tool. We will be implementing again in Nepal, Bangladesh, and Mozambique later this year, and we're also going to be piloting MSRI in Ghana, Ethiopia, and Zambia later this year as well. So as a way forward, we have developed an approach that we call Economies by Ecosystem. This is essentially an approach that uses three main themes: resilient market ecosystems and competitiveness, which includes organization, market linkages, and established ecosystems; digitization, including inclusion, which addresses advisory services for market mentoring; blockchain, and financial inclusion; and then lastly, the Market Systems Resilience Index, measuring resilience, advocacy and promotion, and refinement and adaptation, and linkages of system and measurement. So as a way forward, we're trying to integrate all these different components to really build on each other so they have a continuous loop of improvement. So it's practically what this means is we are looking to measure the adaptive capacity at the systems level. As we build up more and more of these resilience measurements across our country offices, we will be decoupling this from specific baseline end lines of projects, but doing them periodically. So we'll be able to see changes over time. And this will allow us to compare across time, between geographies, between different programs and activities, and really leverage big data for more meaningful insights. We want to make sure that this is really properly integrated into our ongoing planning. So not just informing future projects, but actually adapting and improving the projects and activities that we're doing on the ground as we get the information. We're actively training our field staff to interpret the information that we get from MSRI to put this into practice and make specific changes. We're really interested in collaborating with others. We've had a number of webinars. We'll be presenting at different conferences. We'll be attending COP26. And we're looking to share our lessons learned. And we're also looking to work with others to learn what they're doing. And we hope to create benchmarks and industry standards so that we can all leverage what we're doing and move the industry forward. So I'm really excited to give you a sneak peek into what MSRI is. If you'd like to find out more, please reach out to me about MSRI or anything that IDE does, and I'd be happy to discuss further. Thanks very much.